As I was mentioning, I don't know if you've done the first chakra on my website, but this is the second one. So we move from the root, from the pelvic floor, up into the sacrum area. And this area, the element is water. So we went from earth to water here in the pelvis. And the sacrum bone, something interesting about this anatomically is that its natural curve is convex, so not concave. So concave is like your lower back, which the natural curve there draws in a little bit, but your sacrum has this convex curve, just like the back of your head, that doming backwards. So as you're sitting, you could maybe imagine that backwards movement through your sacrum. That might even ground the back of your sitting bones a bit and create a little hollowing in your low belly. And then your low back above your pelvis can draw in and up. So just feeling that, because many of us, we might think about pushing the whole thing forwards to sit upright, but actually hollow out your lower belly back and then let your low back, which comes above your pelvis, move inwards a little. And then you can roll your shoulders up and down. So in that kind of cave at the front of the sacrum, that's where this chakra center is. And the visualization for it is an orange circle, and 6 petals come around the circle. So it's nice and symmetrical. At the base we had 4 petals, we have 6 here. And there's a crescent moon right in the bottom of the circle. And that represents the changeability of our emotions, how the nature of emotion is to move, and you know, the phases of the moon, and we're also affected by the moon and the tides and the water element. And then in the middle of that circle, there's a mythical creature called a Makara. And this center is said, it's rumored to represent our desires, our passion, our sensuality, our sexuality, our ability to receive and to receive pleasure and to have that reciprocity with giving and receiving pleasure. And the Makara has a lot to do with passion and desire, that mythical creature, which is half crocodile, half like sea dragon. And it's only dangerous if we repress it. So that's something kind of beautiful in this storytelling around this chakra. So it's kind of like, can we connect to the changeability of our emotions, which might mean like the big spectrum of pleasure and pain. And the Makara, that mythical creature, is half terrestrial, half aquatic, kind of cool. It resides in water and land. And it's often depicted at temple gates as a gatekeeper to ward off. It's only dangerous to insincere seekers. So kind of beautiful mythology around that. The associated glands in our subtle body are ovaries and testes and adrenals. And our adrenals sit right on top of our kidneys, so right at your low back ribs there. They sit right up there, and they're responsible for a lot of things, metabolism. But biggest probably that we know about for our adrenals is stress response. So with that feeling of drawing your low belly back, can you feel a bit of space around your adrenals, around your low back ribs? Can you feel a bit of space around all the internal anatomy here in your pelvis, instead of pushing forwards and hardening your back so much? So maybe finding that cave at the front of the sacrum. And you can close your eyes and maybe breathe a little lower. Breathe a little lower into this low abdomen. And I'm going to guide you through just a functional breath that we can play with for this practice, for this flow. And so that'll be when you breathe, you expand into that low belly area like a balloon. And when you exhale, your 2 frontal hip bones here, can you squeeze them together? Can you draw them together? Kind of like you're closing the door of your abdomen, closing in here. And that'll accentuate that cave in front of your sacral bone. So try that. Inhale into your low belly, expand. And you might not get a lot of movement, but exhale and draw your 2 frontal hip bones together and feel that low band of belly muscles slightly pull in. Now, if you do a fake cough, you can feel those TA muscles activating. And when you exhale and draw in here and close the front of the abdomen, open your back up. This is so good for low back pain. Can you feel those coughing muscles just slightly engage? Then when you inhale, make sure you release it. Fully expand. And then exhale and pulse in. So changeability of our motions, changeability of holding on to this musculature. So we want our muscles and our fascia to be responsive, able to not stay stuck, able to move, just like the moon, just like these phases of our emotions. So with that breath, take a couple more breaths in there, breathing in, expanding, releasing. Breathing out, closing and contracting. Inhale, expanding. Exhale, closing. Now you can keep going with that breath. There's a mantra for this center. I'm gonna sing it for you. You can join in if you want. Nobody can hear you, don't worry. Or you can just listen. So I'm gonna take my hands together for that. The mantra is VAM, V-A-M, and I'll do it 3 times, and you can either join in or listen. Vamma, 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 vam. 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 And taking a breath in to that pelvic area. Exhale everything out. So today's flow will work with a little bit of fluid movement, watery movement, so you can come onto your hands and knees as you're ready. Situate your hands under your shoulders, your knees under your hips, and start with that cat-cow movement. So arching your spine, could be an inhalation there, rounding your spine under and really locating the cave in the front of your sacrum, the hollow of your belly. Inhale, arching, and exhale, rounding, making space around your SI joints at the back of your pelvis. Inhale, arching, and exhale, rounding under. Come to a neutral spine there, tuck toes, and reach back into downward facing dog, where you can pedal out your feet. And can you get a sense of lifting your sitting bones, but then hollowing out your belly? And take a couple breaths, and on your exhale phase of your breath, draw those frontal hip bones together. Almost like you're zipping up tight jeans, but the jeans are stretchy, stretch denim, so that you have some space to breathe, to expand. But as you exhale, zip up those tight jeans and feel that center line. Bend your knees, and you can step or hop your feet towards your hands. Take an inhale, lengthen out your spine, and exhale, fold forwards, let your head hang. Press into your heels, come all the way up to stand, and then take your hands behind the back of your head, elbows wide like that, and start to circle through your upper back. So can you circle through your upper back, but keep your pelvis steady? And you're circling from your low ribs, so even keep your belly button facing forward. Switch directions so you feel steadiness at your low back, stability at your low back, but mobility in your ribs. One more circle here. Nice. Then come into the center and reach your arms all the way up. Spread your fingers, bend your knees, and forward fold. Inhale, lengthen your spine. You can step or hop back to downward facing dog. Exhale. Inhale through to plank. Exhale, knees down, back into a child's form. round forwards, and on your inhale, come through to an upward dog. You can tuck your toes or not. And then exhale, knees back, child's form. Inhale, shift into your hands, tuck toes. Exhale, back into downward facing dog. Take a breath in, take a breath out. Maybe shifting your weight side to side. Bend your knees, step, hop, or handstand, however you like. Come to the top of your mat, lengthen out, and forward fold. Come all the way up, arms up. You might even arch a little up and back, and then exhale your hands by your sides. Let's add to that. Inhale, arms up, maybe look up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, step, hop, or float back, downward facing dog, exhale. Inhale to plank this time. Exhale, lower to your chaturanga, so your knees could be down. Inhale into your upward dog. Feel free to take your knees down for that. Exhale into a child's form. Make that cave in front of your sacrum. Inhale into your hands. Tuck toes. Exhale to downward facing dog. Take a couple breaths in. Find your rhythm, find your flow. Stabilize your low back a little by finding that functional breath as you exhale, squeezing to center, zipping up those jeans. Inhale, stretch out into the periphery. Exhale, bend your knees, step, hop, handstand, however you do. Come to the top of your mat, lengthen your spine. Forward fold. All the way up, take your arms up, reach. Maybe back, exhale, hands to heart. Let's add to that. Inhale, arms up and back. So nice. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, come up halfway, step, hop, however you do. Downward facing dog. Inhale to plank. Exhale, lower to your chaturanga. Your upward dog or cobra, your child's pose. So hollow out your belly, shift back. Inhale, shift into tabletop onto your hands. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale your right leg up and back behind you. You can open your knee, look under your right armpit. And then exhale, take your right foot on the inside of your right wrist, back foot on an angle for warrior one. As you inhale, come all the way up and then take your hands behind the back of your head and start to do those circles. So as you're doing those circles, can you keep your low back steady by feeling on your exhale a little bit of that squeezing in through the front? Switch directions of your circles. So mobilizing your upper back, stabilizing your low back. Now in those circles, can you switch directions and come forward so that you're curling towards your front right knee? It's almost like you're taking your head towards your front right knee, a little somersault towards your front right knee, and push into your back outer heel. Push into your back outer heel and lift out of your low back. Next, inhale, come up to face the front of your mat with your hands like this, and then twist yourself towards your front leg. And take a couple breaths there, maybe sinking in, and you can pulse your front knee 5 times. So pulse in for 5, 4, nice, 3, 2, and 1. And then we're gonna open up, inhale, arms up, maybe a little back bend here, like you're over a high bar at your shoulder blades. Exhale, open it up to warrior 2. Open it up to warrior 2. So your right leg is forwards. Now we're gonna take our right arm over our left and either give ourselves a hug, elbows on top of each other, right elbow on top of your left, or eagle wrap your arms. Now on your inhale, lift into your upper back, and on your exhale, curl in this position. So deepen your warrior 2 and curl into this position, elbows in towards your belly button. And then inhale, come up a little bit, look up. And exhale, curl into this position. So you're hollowing out the cave of your belly. Inhale, come up one more time. Exhale, curl in, make space in your low back, and then open up your arms and take your right fingertips to the floor. And if you can, take your left arm up, so you're kind of twisting in a warrior two legs towards the back leg. And if you like, you can kind of take it into a triangle by straightening your front right leg, even taking your right tippy toe or your right toes off of the mat so you're on your heel. It's a bit of a hamstring stretch on that front leg. Take a breath in, and then we're going to take both hands to the floor and parallel our feet towards the left edge of our mat. So we're like in a wide-legged forward fold, and walk our hands way forwards. So it's like a big hammock in the upper back. You can bend your knees a lot here and lower your hips, almost like a goddess squat, and see if you can shift your hips back or straighten your legs. Nice. Take a breath in, maybe let your upper back hang a little bit. Now there's some options here. Some of you might be working on a headstand, so you could put your hands down and straddle your legs. You could play with that. Some of you might be working with a press handstand, or maybe forearms down, and you could try shifting into your tippy toes, like a forearm press. Whatever you're working on, or hammocking your upper back, playing with that. Let's take a couple breaths, and on our exhale, connect into that cave at the front of the belly, spreading and broadening the back of your pelvis and making space for your low back to rise up. Walking your hands back underneath your shoulders. Let's walk all the way around to frame your right foot with your hands. Yeah, and then take your left knee in, so your left shin's on the floor, and sit down and take your right foot forwards. So now you're in a Janu Shirshasana facing the front of the mat. There you go. Pull your left leg in, walk your sit bones back, and again we'll take our right elbow on top of our left, or you can eagle wrap your arms. So let's get that arcing into our upper back, like going over high bar our shoulder blades, and then curling forwards. And you don't have to come all the way down, but curling forwards. One more time, inhale, arcing. Exhale, curling forwards. And then come up and release your arms, take your hands to your pelvis, and start to circle into your pelvis. So can you feel the watery quality of your lower belly as you circle into your hips, and draw your low belly back into your pelvis as you circle back. Now on that forward movement, start to come forward, so you can take your foot, hands on either side of your leg, maybe interlocking your hands around your foot, and fold forwards over your leg. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. You might lift your elbows a little bit here. Wherever you are, lift your elbows. And then come all the way up, and you can take your left hand behind you, point your left toe, and then press into your left shin and come up and arc through your upper back. You might open up the front of your hip flexors, then slowly lower back down there and face forwards again. Just going to show you this way. Take your right leg in and hold on to your outer foot, or you can take your peace fingers and hold on to your big toe. Your left hand can come behind you. Start to straighten that leg out in front. If you want to make it more challenging, don't use your left hand and be a little bit more upright, or you lean back and use your hand. Now as you inhale, lift your leg any amount, could be a bit bent. And then as you exhale, bend your right leg and look towards your toe, or look behind you. So we're going to inhale and kick it out straight, look forwards. And exhale, pull, bend, look to the right, or look at your foot. Inhale forwards. Now if you like, you can exhale and try to take your foot towards your ear, like telephone a little bit. Inhale forwards, and then exhale, take your foot to the floor. Now take your left arm across, opposite arm, opposite leg, and hold your right shin in front of you. Yeah, like that. So again, you're kind of looking to your right, And then pull on your shin and lean away from your right leg and lean away and look up. So you might be getting quite a big stretch into kind of your right side flank. So get into your low back in that way. If you want, you could slide your hand up towards your knee. And then keep going with that turning to look up towards the ceiling and leaning away from your knee. Let's take a breath in and out there, wherever you are. You're doing it right. And come all the way up from that. Now it is your left hand behind you again. And this time you can come up onto your right tippy toes and stretch your hips forwards. It's a little bit different than we did, but sort of the same. Opening up the front of your hips. And then slowly coming down, and then we're gonna come into a Navasana. So both legs forwards, just like that. Now you can choose to hold on here or let go. Again, we're gonna carve out our sacrum. So find your tailbone, and then come back up, lift your sternum. You can pull yourself in, or harder to not to use your hands, right? So curl down, find your sacrum, bone at the back of your pelvis, but not your low back, and then come back up. There you go. Now let's find our sacrum, and then let's find our low back, but not our ribs. Low back, there it is, and come back up. There we go. Now let's find all the way down to our upper back. There it is. And then all the way up. There we go. Now let's come all the way down. Yeah, legs up into the air. So toes bright, toes wide, and take your hands behind the back of your head. So nice. And now we are just gonna lift our pelvis up. So it's a little pulse of your pelvis going straight up. Now try not to take your legs in towards you like that. We're gonna try to go straight up with our legs. So you might encounter the lower belly in between those coughing muscles, right? Low belly as you pulse your legs up. So aim your elbows towards the ceiling, decompress your shoulders there, and then pulsing for 10. 9, you can do it on your exhale up, inhale down. 7, spread your toes, squeeze your inner legs together. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, now let's take our legs wide. So can you straddle your legs, or do you have space to even do that? You could also bend your knees, right? If you can, straddle your legs and then press your low back into the floor there. Can you get your low back to make contact with the floor? And can you pulse your pelvis up like that for 10 times? So if this is like too much strain, bring your legs back up, do that again, or you could go 10. 9, and again, try not to aim your hamstrings towards the ceiling as you do this. Go straight up with your inseam of your pants. 5, 4, 3, spread your toes, spread your pinky toes. 1, there we go. Legs all the way back up. We're gonna take our right leg to hover above the floor and our left leg up. And now press your low back into the floor. Make contact there. And then again, pulse just your pelvis up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Legs all the way up and together. Switch. You can take a rest if you need to. Or 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. With your breath. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Oh my goodness, can take your knees in, wobble a little side to side. And then take your hands, widen your knees like we just did with a straddle, but bend your legs. And take your hands on the upper inside of your shins. So you're holding the inside of your knees. And now let your back softly arch, like roll towards your coccyx or your tailbone. That's the very base of your spine. And let your low back gently arch. And let your belly get soft and watery there. Okay, we're gonna rock and roll ourselves up to a toe squat. So you can rock back and forwards, and then come up into a toe squat. With your hands in front of you, pick up your hips, bend your elbows, and squeeze your elbows together. Take your knees on the backs of your elbows, or maybe right up into your armpit, depending on where you're at there. And can you take one leg up and the other leg up? And that cave in the front of your sacrum, can you hollow it and let it lift you like there's a parachute right in your low belly, lifting you up for a breath? And then slowly lower back down. Some of you might hop back, right? You can hop back into your plank, maybe your knees down, lower. You can take that upward dog, so nice. Exhale into a child's pose, hollow out there. With that water quality, shift into your hands, shift into your toes. Find downward facing dog. Your breath in. Your breath out. Okay, let's lift our left leg up into the air. And you can bend your knee, open your hip if you like. And take your left foot on the inside of your left wrist, back foot on an angle. Exhale there, inhale up to warrior one. Take your hands behind the back of your head. Start to circle, but keep the squeezing on your exhale at the front of your hips. So you're stabilizing through your belly button down and then mobilizing, change directions from your ribs up. Feel stability in your low back. And then switch directions and curl somersault towards your front left knee. Round your upper back, but lift out of your low back. Squeeze together at the front and press into your back outer heel. Inhale, come up face forwards with your hands like this. Twist, twist as much as you can. Lift out of your low back and pulse your front knee forwards for 5. For 4, for 3, for 2, and for 1. Come on forwards, arc a little up and back, open your fingers, and then come on through to your warrior 2 with your left foot forwards. Yeah, there. Now we're gonna take our left arm on top of our right, so you can do a hug or an eagle wrap, and then arch into your upper back. And then curl into your upper back. Arch into your upper back. Keep your feet stable. And then curl and hollow out your low belly as you curl. One more time, arching up, curling down, and then you can take your left fingertips to the floor and your right arm up. So it's like an awkward twist in this warrior 2 shape with your legs. If you like, straighten your left leg and let your left toes move up and really tone your left hamstrings in that. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Your right hand comes to the floor and you turn your feet to the right side of your mat. Walk forwards with your hands. So you're in that hammock shape. Press into the outer edges of your feet and you can bend your knees and get a little lower to the ground. So this is that earthy part of the Makara, half earthy. And then you can get that fluidity in your upper back, that watery quality. Let your upper back hang to the ground. If there's an inversion you want to play with here, you can go upside down. There's an option to play. Sometimes I like to play with coming up towards a press on the forearms, there on the hands. Wherever you are, you're doing it right, you're doing it for you. And then walk all the way around to your front foot. Yeah, so you're in the shape of a lunge. And we'll take our right shin in and sit down and take our left foot forwards. So we're in a Janu Shirshasana with our left foot forwards, our right leg in. Again, we'll take our left arm on top of our right, or hold your hands. Arch into your upper back, round with that watery quality to your upper back, arching and rounding. So it's not linear. You don't have to do it in any way that seems perfect or square. It can be round, just like that symbol of the chakra. And we can come on up, let your arms go. Get a little circle into your hips and feel your belly moving. So maybe you've seen a belly dancer's belly before, but can your belly move in that way, hollowing out towards the back of your sacrum? And then come on forwards and start to fold over your front leg. You can try having your elbows up and having a little tone to your upper back, or maybe hold your foot and lift your elbows there. Take a breath in, your breath out. Heavy in your sit bones, roll on up. Take your right hand behind you, point your right toes, open it up into your hip flexors, arch and lengthen your upper back. Come all the way down. Bend your left foot in and either hold on to your outer foot or peace fingers around your big toe. And you can have your hand behind you or not. Start to lengthen out that leg. Nice. So you're reaching, maybe looking forwards, and then as you pull that leg towards bend, and you can do that with your hand, look left or look at your left foot and then kick it out towards straight. Some of you might draw it up a little bit and then bend and look left and then forwards and kick it up. And this one you might try to play telephone like an archer's form with your foot and then come on back up. Playful, and then left foot to the ground and come up onto your left tippy toes, right hand behind you, and this time arch there. Lengthen out of your low back, lengthen, lengthen, arch into your collarbones. And come all the way down. We'll take both our feet forwards, come on up into Navasana. So this time, if you want, you could straighten your legs, up to you. You could hold on to them. And then let's find our tailbone, there it is. And then come back up, collarbones lift. Let's find our sacrum, but not our low back. There it is. And come on back up. Let's find our low back, but not our ribs. There it is. Come on back up, carving out this primary curve. Let's find our upper back. There it is. Come on back up. And let's come all the way down to the floor, legs up. Hands behind the back of your head. So it's 10 pulses. Try to go straight up and squeeze your inner legs together. 10, 9, 8. With your breath. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wide legs if you like, or do that again. Inseam of your pants up towards the ceiling, pulsing up through your pelvis, low back touches the floor. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Elbows up, 2, 1. Right leg up, left leg down. Pulse up, low back touches the floor. 8, 7, 6, straighten your legs a little more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switching. 10, 9, 8. So good. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, bring your knees into your chest, widen your knees, rock into your low back, making space there, feeling the watery element of your organs and the softness of your belly. And then you can take your hands on the insides of your knees, knees wide, and arch through your spine, but don't arch through the muscles as much. Like, allow yourself to roll towards your tailbone and just soften the muscles of your low back, letting it arch where it wants to go. Let's do a little rock and roll. Forwards and back to a toe squat. So you can get onto your toes, knees wide. Maybe you're bending and placing your knees on the tops of your arms and holding there, or you could take one leg up, maybe the other leg up. Maybe press your arms a little more towards straight. And can you think of that parachute in your low belly? And slowly come down or hop back, whatever you do. You might press into a handstand there too. Back to your down dog to plank. Lower to chaturanga. Up into your upward dog. Back into your child's pose. Into your hands. Into your feet, downward facing dog. Your breath in. Your breath out. Shift to plank here. Again, slow lower onto your belly. Walk your feet back. Take your forehead to the floor and take your hands in that interlock behind the back of your head. Okay, now push your pelvis into the floor. Push that whole sacral area down, especially the tailbone. Sink the tailbone down, harden the upper hamstrings, feel stability there. And then slowly start to come up. So your head comes up, but you're holding the weight of your arms with the strength of your neck. This is the Makara pose, the Makrasana, the mythical creature, serpent legs and crocodile upper body. Opening its jaws forwards. Maybe look a little forwards. Hold it there. Lift your legs if you like. Feel the power of your back body. For a breath in. Exhale, slowly lower. And let yourself sink and wobble your hips a little side to side. One more opportunity to rise up into that form. So pelvis presses down. And you can lift your legs and your head. Let your strength of your neck hold your hands. Widen your elbows to the side. Lengthen your spine. Get longer instead of taller. Get long and bright there. And slowly lower. Wobble your hips side to side. Hands under your shoulders. You can come up into an upward dog here, a cobra, and then exhale into a child's form. Shift into your hands, shift into your feet. Your downward facing dog. Your breath in there. Your breath out. Come on through to your seat. So you can step or hop or float, however you do. Draw your knees into your chest. An opportunity to twist here. So let's start with a floating twist. So your arms can come wide, your hands to the floor, and start to roll your knees into one armpit and then the other, rolling side to side. One armpit and then the other. Now you can straighten your legs and hover your legs in the air. And so it's a little more of a churning through your low belly and a pressing down through your upper back. So make it yours. You can make the movement as small or as big as you like. Let's do 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then draw your knees into your chest, and we'll take a more passive twist. So you can let your left leg cross over your right here. Maybe shift your hips a little to the left with left leg over top. And then let your legs fall to the right and your feet catch you. So the strength of your feet catch you and your arms go wide. So your breath in there. Your breath out. Getting long through your spine. So if you feel places where your body wants to tighten up, can you breathe space into those places and bring that fluidity into those spaces with your breath and with traction of your spine. You can bring it all the way back center here and switch your legs when you're ready. So hips can go a little to the right. Your right leg over top, crossing your legs. Let your feet catch you as you fall left with your legs. You might look right. And And perhaps your mind goes straight to a place that feels tight, but go to a place right now, if you can. The invitation is to go to a place where you feel pleasure and space and aliveness. It's kind of an act of rebellion to allow yourself to feel pleasure. It actually goes against a lot of marketing tactics these days. So allow yourself to rebel. And come all the way back into the center. You can unhook your legs. Any little movements that you might want to do before you find your final resting form, you can do that. You can allow yourself to open up into your Shavasana, or it doesn't have to look a certain way. Some of you might want to sit in meditation. Sometimes I like to do this is if I'm in Shavasana, grab onto the edges of my mat, push down, pull down on them, and then kind of lift up my head like this in a little abdominal, pulling my mat down, and then I'm going to drag my tailbone underneath me and lengthen my low back away from my hips, and then slowly lower, just kind of like we were doing in those Navasanas. Slowly, segmentally lower through spine. And you might feel a little bit of space there in your low back, and you can flip your palms up if you like. Maybe you take a breath in, take a breath out. And what would it be like to bring your attention into your pelvis, into your low back, and breathe space into those areas? Breathe space into the watery feeling of the organs and the glands and the tissue. And I just want to read to you something from T.S. Little's book. It was a brilliant guide to energetic anatomy of yoga. The second chakra, the Svadhisthana chakra, is associated with water. We can think of the sacrum containing a fluid vitality akin to the dark and watery realm at the base of a well shaft. The watery realm of the sacrum has anatomical associations with the bladder, a storage tank for fluid located just in front of the sacrum, the uterus, which siphon excess water from the kidneys and trail down to the bladder, and the large intestine, which absorbs water prior to elimination and attaches directly to the front of that sacrum bone. The sacrum is also linked to the fluid realm due to its role as a hydraulic pump, driving cerebrospinal fluid up and down the spinal cord. The cerebrospinal fluid, one of the most rarefied fluids in our bodies, bathes the brain and spinal nerves. Its flow is generated in part by the rhythmic contractions and expansions of our sacrum, the sacrum bone. So maybe unbeknownst to you, there's a motility, this little movement to the back of our pelvis that pumps fluid against gravity up our spine, where our brain sits in that fluid, nourishing it and bathing it with water. Last few moments here. There might be a question for you. Do you tend to feel your feelings all the way through? you let them move, or are there times where you push them down and hide them or suppress them, repress them? Is there something that supports you to feel your feelings all the way through? You know, if you're feeling heaviness and you'd like to stay where you are, you're so welcome to. I'm just going to invite you to stretch and wake yourself up if you like, and meet me in a seat to close our practice with that same mantra that we started with. So you can join in, or maybe it feels better to listen in. You can stay lying down, of course. If you like, you can take your hands together at your heart. And the mantra is VAM, V-A-M. Vamma, 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 Vam. 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 Thank you so much for being here on this exploration. Shanti, peace.